Now. So this is the expert interface, and this is what I model in quite a bit. I use a lot of shortcut keys, and I will say the shortcut key out loud as I do it. And the reason for that is it will save years of your life to learn the shortcut keys. What will happen is you will model for 8 to 15 hours a day if it's something that you do as a career. If you can save 1 or 2 seconds every minute by hitting one of the shortcut keys or using the context-sensitive menu, that means that over the course of a year, you can save hundreds of hours. Does that make sense to you all? So the context-sensitive menu is the right-click on the mouse, shift right-click on the mouse, control right-click, and alt right-click. Now this gives you 4 different windows that you can use. The one that we're going to use primarily is shift right-click. Now, because I have nothing on the screen, it opens up to this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a cube. I use the R key to scale. And now if I right-click on the thing, or if I shift right-click, it brings up 2 different menus. So the first thing I'm going to do is select this face right here. But I can't do that until I right-click and say face. Now I can select this face. Now if I hit shift right-click, it gives me all the options that I can do to this face. So I'm going to extrude this face to begin with. This little piece up here changes the widget from global to local. I want it to be local for right now. I'm going to click the scale button once, and then I'm going to pull in from the center to create this shape. Q, to close that tool out. Shift, or just right click, select the face, and delete. Now what I can do is come back over and grab the edge, hold the shift key down, and select multiple times to get all of those edges. W to move, and I can move those edges like that. G to bring back the last tool that I used, which was the extrude tool. Go back. Now I'm on local. I'm going to change this to world, and then I'm going to pull out again. So I have 2 extrudes now. This is what I'm talking about when I say the context-sensitive menu. What you did not see me do was come up here and click on any buttons. Saving a second or 2 seconds every minute will save you a minute every hour, or say 2 minutes every hour. That'll save you 20 minutes every day. That will save you 100 minutes every week. That will save you 5,000 minutes over the course of a year. Those 5,000 minutes can be used for anything you want that doesn't involve digging through menus. Does that make sense to you all? Context-sensitive menus are how I model, and it's how you will learn to model. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start to look at what we're going to be covering this week. We know that we're going to be using the fire hydrant. And the fire hydrant is primarily a series of cylinders that needs to be joined to be created. This is an object. Now, right now I'm in modeling expert, and what this doesn't give me is any information about this. I need a slightly different, or I need another window. So I can come under my windows now, and I could change my workspace, or I could do my general editor. I just want my attributes editor. And I can see that my polygon cylinder has 20 subdivisions, 1 height, and 1 hub subcap. I'm going to change that subcap to 0. And what that does is it took away all those sections in there. I can change my height to say 4. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just messing around with buttons because there's no outcome that is expected from you for this week. Does that make sense? You do not have an actual shape that you are modeling. I expect you to hit all the buttons and take some screenshots of something. Does that make sense to you all? We're not actually doing anything. We're just messing with the buttons, trying to get used to a new way of modeling. So I have this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift, right click. I can do this, or I can just left mouse drag like that. I'm going to go ahead and select face, left mouse drag, and I've now selected all of my faces. Left mouse drag selects everything. Shift left mouse drag deselects the things that I've dragged over. So now I'm going to hit delete. And what that does is it removes the top and bottom of the cylinder. The next thing that I want to do, since I know I will be doing a Boolean operation, is I want to delete all of my history and freeze my transforms. I'm going to delete my history, modify, freeze my transforms. What that does is everything that I had done up until now was being stored in RAM, basically. And Maya was keeping track of that. So if I give you 500 instructions right now, and each one of those instructions has 3 points of reference, X, Y, and Z, how many of those do you think you can remember before you scream at me to stop talking? I'd say 2 or 3. But after that, you just get mad, right? What Maya is doing is remembering everything that you did to 3 points of location. It will scream at you, but it doesn't yell, it just crashes. Does that make sense? So deleting my history before moving on to my next thing is important. Freezing my transforms means that this object is now at 0, 0, 0. If I move this object, my transform on the X, I believe it is, or on the Y, has changed to 2.845. Now if I freeze my transforms again, it's now 0. This is at its 0, 0, 0 location every time I freeze my transforms. That's important if I want to, say, duplicate this, move one over to here, move this one over, and I need this one to be back in the original location. The easiest way to get it into the exactly same location is just to move it there mathematically. Does that make sense to you all? Freezing your location saves a lot of effort. The next thing I want to do is change my pivot on this. Insert, and that accesses my pivot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it to the bottom, and I'm going to hit the V key. V for vertice, or vertex. And now I'm on the bottom. Now when I hit W, my pivot point is now at the bottom of my object. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of V, I want to lock this to this grid. Does anybody know what snap to grid is? X. So if I go ahead and hold X down and drag this down, I am now snapped to the grid. How many times have you tried to model something and then put it somewhere and it was just floating a little bit above it and you had to go back and forth a million times? This will save you that kind of effort. It's important and it's good to know. So what I'm going to do again now is edit, delete all by type, delete my history, modify, freeze my transformations. Now what I want to do is duplicate this object. Control D, and E for rotate, and J for lock to a particular axis, W for move, and there we go. Now, this particular cylinder has 20 sides. This cylinder also has 20 sides. They are the exact same scale. What that means to you is each one of these lines up with each one of these perfectly. Does that make sense? So if I Boolean this right now, shift right click, Boolean union. All of my edges and all of my polygons remain clean. And by clean, I am saying they have 4 sides. This one has a problem that I will need to fix. But all of these have 4. And they all lined up perfectly. I don't have any little vertex floating in weird locations. But in case I do, I'm going to right click again. And I'm going to say vertex. And then I'm going to grab all of these vertex like that using the left mouse drag. And I'm going to go ahead and shift right click. And I'm going to say merge vertices. Merge vertices. And I'm going to click on this little thing right here. And I'm going to merge them down to 0.01. Now, I don't have my vertex counter up right now, so I don't know if this works yet. So the next thing I want to do is come under Display, Show Polygons. Where am I looking for? It's not under Windows. It is under Display, Heads Up Display, Poly Count. That's it. So right now, I have 88 vertex. When I hit Apply, if there are any vertex that were created that weren't supposed to be, they'll get disappeared. So apply. Now I have 80. So 8 vertex were just merged. If I hadn't done that, bad things would have happened. We'll look at bad things in a second. The next thing that I want to do, object mode, shift right click, insert edge loop, is I'm going to come right over to here, and I'm going to switch to a non-perspective view by using the spacebar. Spacebar, spacebar. Now I can come through here and line this up pretty close to right there. And the reason I didn't click right here is because if I tried to, it would not work. I'm trying to put an edge loop in, but because this polygon, or this n-gon, in this case, has 5 sides, it won't work. Polygons have 4 sides. Triangles have 3 sides. For our counting purposes, that is important. Anything that is not 3 or 4-sided is wrong and called an n-gon. That's not the exact definition. The exact definition is something slightly different, as I showed you on the other day on Wikipedia, I think it was. But you can see that because this is an n-gon, I cannot insert an edge loop in this direction. I can insert an edge loop in this direction, and it works fine. Q. So let me undo that, and let's look at how I can tell this is an n-gon. So I have 1 edge, 2 edge, 3 edge, 4 edge, 5 edges. That makes it 5-sided. Does that make sense to you all? Object mode, insert an edge loop. Q, object mode, multi-cut tool. Now, these don't line up exactly. Can you guys see that this one is just a little crooked? What I'm going to do now is vertex, grab all of these, W, V for snap to vertex. And there they go. I've lined them all up, and that is now perfectly set. Q. What I have here is a good piece of geometry. So, object mode, use the spacebar, go back to a perspective mode, hit my 3 view to look at it in my preview, and I can see there are problems. This is not the shape that I wanted. It's all soft and gooey. So let's come back to 1. Because this has good geometry in it, what I can do is object mode, insert edge loop, and insert an edge loop. And then I can insert an edge loop, and I can insert an edge loop. Q, object mode, and 3. And now I can control the bevel on that polygon and how that flows together. That's called edging or fencing. You did that with the dice when you created them. It is coming back. If I didn't have good geometry and these weren't all four-sided polygons, I would not be able to do that. Questions so far?
If you deploy something and something turns green,
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.